This delicate little damselfly is really easy to tie and really effective on the fish. Here's how you tie it. You're going to start off with a curved hook. This is a Daiichi 1760, size 14. I always pinch the barb before I put it in my vise. Using olive ultra thread, 70 denier. Get your thread started right behind the eye of the hook. I'm going to add some mono eyes. A link above goes to another video on how to make these monofilament eyes. If you're not using them in your patterns, you might be missing out on some things. Check it out and make some of your own. Add a dab of super glue and set your eyes on top. Add a few wraps over the top of that mono. Straighten those eyes out and then add a few more wraps going back the other direction before adding securing figure 8 wraps to make sure those eyes are solid on top of the hook shank. Then bring your thread rearward all the way back to just before the bend. We're going to tie in our tail material, which is Marabou. Typically you're going to use the tips of a Marabou feather for tail fibers. But for damselflies, their tails are very broad. So I'm going to use these fuzzier strands of Marabou feather located further down the stem. Pluck these feathers from the base of the stem to get the entire length of fiber and bring them to your hook shank. We're only going to use about 4 or 5 of these fibers. We want a fairly sparse tail and body on this bug. There's not much to damselflies. They're pretty delicate. Measure it out to be about a hook shank length for your tail. You can always modify this after the fact. Capture those fibers and make a few wraps forward just to make sure they're set into place. After you tie in your tail, leave the tag end of fibers hanging off of the hook because you're going to use those in a few steps to make the body of the fly. Next, we need to tie in a rib, which we're going to use dead soft copper wire. This is gold. Take a small section of wire, tie it in going forward up to the eye, the entire length of the hook shank. After you get your wire rib tied in, it's time to wrap our body material. Now this is very delicate Marabou fibers. If a few of them break on you, that's okay. You don't need a lot to make this body. It's going to be sparse no matter what. It's easiest to hold on to this material with your fingers so you can better control the tension rather than using hackle pliers. And use the rotary function on your vise to bring them around the hook shank. Capture that down with your thread and either pluck or trim off the excess. Now before I rib my flies, I like to kind of press that material down. Press those Marabou fibers down to each side of the hook shank and then run that wire rib spiral wraps forward through that material. Add some segmentation and add some strength and durability to this delicate fly. Once you get to your tie-in point, make a few wraps over the top of that wire and in front before helicoptering that wire close to the hook shank. The next material we need to tie in is Bugskin. It makes great wing cases, especially for damselflies. So this is a dark olive color Bugskin. I'm just going to trim a thin section, about 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to tie this in with the olive side facing down so that when I pull this over for the wing case, the dark side is going to be facing up. So we're going to tie in our wing case material, the Bugskin, and pull it over the top just to make sure that it's going to fit properly. For the thorax, we're going to use Mohair plus Damsel olive dubbing. This stuff is awesome because it's buggy, it's got a little bit of flash to it, but it matches everything perfectly. So I'm going to dub a really short noodle of Damsel olive. Just going to begin wrapping rearward until that dubbing hits the hook shank. And then I'm going to start bringing it forward again to make a nice robust thorax on this bug. Check the look of the bug once you get just behind those mono eyes to make sure that the head is as full as you want it. I'm going to add a little bit more dubbing to mine just to make sure that I cover those mono eyes sufficiently. Just a sparse amount, doesn't need to be much. And then I'm going to bring my thread in front of those mono eyes just behind the eye of the hook. Finally, we can pull that Bugskin over the top to make our wing case. Capture it just in front of those mono eyes with a few solid wraps, and then lift that Bugskin up and add a few more wraps underneath just to lock it into place. You can add a few half hitches if you want, and then pull that Bugskin straight up and trim it as close as you can. Clean up your head with a little bit of olive thread, add a whip finish or a half hitch, and that is a completed damselfly nymph, the delicate damsel. This is a great pattern for stillwater fishing. It has fooled a lot of fish for me, and I hope it helps you on your home waters. These are all the materials you'll need to tie a delicate damsel. Head down to your local fly shop and ask for larvalase by name. If they don't carry larvalase, tell them to go to hagensfish.com or get in touch with Lorie in Mitchell, South Dakota to make sure they're carrying the best synthetic materials on the market. hagensfish.com. Thanks for tying with larvalase. Thanks for being a part of the larvalase community. Here's the tight lines and well-tied flies.